We're going to wrap up our look at the amendments or the Bill of Rights. We're going to cover 7 through 10. Three of them move pretty quickly. Eighth Amendment, I'll spend a little bit more time on. So, Seventh Amendment deals with civil trials, not criminal trials. We talked about earlier criminal trials with the Fifth and Sixth. That's when you're accused of a crime. So, the first logical question we have to answer is, what is a civil trial? A civil trial is a trial. It's a different type of court in which one person sues another person for money. No one goes to prison in civil trials. So let's say, I'm going to make something up. Let's say my neighbor is cutting down a tree and the tree falls onto my roof and damages the roof, and it's $10,000. And I go over to the neighbor and I'm like, well, you cut down your tree. It was your fault. You need to pay me. You need to give me $10,000 so I can repair my roof. And the neighbor says no. I can do what's called, I can take him to a civil trial. And this is where I'm suing him or her for money, in this case, $10,000. One important thing with civil trials is that no one goes to prison. So if I win the trial, my neighbor doesn't go to jail. He has to pay me the $10,000. So the Seventh Amendment, what it says about civil trials, it's pretty simple. It says if the case involves more than $20, you can ask for a jury trial instead of just having a judge decide. Obviously, $20 today is different than $20 in 1790. And honestly, with the Seventh Amendment, I'm more concerned with you about knowing what a civil trial is and being able to explain that. So let's move on to the Eighth. Eighth Amendment goes back to criminal stuff, and there's two main things in the Eighth Amendment. Number one, it says no excessive bail, but excessive means too much, like out of control. So what bail is, and a lot of you think you know what bail is, but you're a little bit off on it. Bail is money you give to the court, which keeps you out of jail until your trial happens. And if you show up for your trial, then you get your money back. So let's say I'm accused of robbing a bank, and it's September 30th, and I'm arrested and I'm charged. And they say my trial is going to be on December 20th. What I can do is I can pay money, I can pay bail, and that keeps me out of jail until my trial. Because people, when they're accused of crimes, remember, we're innocent until proven guilty. And the trial's not going to be for another 3 months. Well, I'm an adult. I still need to work. I need to take care of my family. And it wouldn't necessarily be fair to put me in jail that entire time for something I may have not done so I can pay bail. Again, a lot of times you guys think you pay money and it keeps you out of jail forever. It does not do that. It only keeps you out of jail until your trial happens. So I show up for my trial, I get my money back. If you don't show up for trial, you lose your money, and now the police are looking for you because you didn't show up for trial. Anyway, no excessive bail. An example would be if I got arrested for stealing a shirt, if the judge said my bail was $100,000, that would be excessive. And the reason why is stealing a shirt, it's a crime, yes, but it's not that big of a deal. That doesn't match up with the dollar amount. Sometimes in some really bad cases, murder cases, the judge will say bail is not an option. And if the judge doesn't issue bail, that person has to stay in jail until their trial. It's up to the judge to determine if someone gets bail and how much it's going to be. The second part deals with no cruel or unusual punishments. So this is after I've been found guilty of a crime and it's time for punishment. It can't be cruel or unusual. This has changed a lot over time also. So if you go back in the 1790s, whippings were a fairly common form of punishment that the courts would issue out. Today, our interpretation of cruel and unusual has changed, and there is no way in today's age a whipping would ever be acceptable to us. Another topic that comes up into this is the idea of capital punishment. Capital punishment, you may have not heard this phrase, but you're familiar with the idea. Capital punishment is when you are executed or killed for a crime. One thing to know about capital punishment, unless it's very, very rare, people do not receive capital punishment unless it's a murder. And even then, they may not get the death penalty. It's also known as the death penalty. I could use those words kind of interchangeably. So, what this is showing you, it's up to the states to decide if they want the death penalty. So, states in the green, roughly half of them allow the death penalty. Blue, they do not allow it. And red, it's legal, but they've basically stopped using the death penalty for various reasons. So roughly half the states allow the death penalty. If you look at this, Kansas does allow the death penalty, but I don't think anyone has been executed in Kansas since like 1975 or something like that. It's been 30 or 40 years. So we have it, but it's not used. This is kind of showing you death sentences by year since 1976. So you can see it's kind of ups and downs. In the 90s, we were over 300, but in recent years, it's probably, looking at this, less than 50. So on average, in recent years, less than 50 people nationwide are executed for their crimes. Okay, 9th and 10th, super quick. 9th says we have more rights than those just listed in the Constitution. So the founding fathers, they realized they couldn't list every single right we have. So instead of trying to think up all these things, they just said, look, we have the rights that are listed, but we also have more rights than just those. And then the 10th Amendment kind of reaffirms the idea of federalism. And it says powers not given to the national government automatically go to the state government. So this reaffirms the idea only the national government can only do those things listed in the Constitution. If it's not listed, then it automatically goes to the state.